Hey guys, so for those of you who have been watching the content on the channel recently, you've probably seen the video about the AFL Evolution 2 and my plans for content for that game. In that video I talked about the AFL What If series and how I'd like to be able to take teams we've created in that series and bring them to life in Evolution 2. So I've done some more thinking about that and I've come up with an idea that could be pretty fun to do. The idea is we take those teams and bring them to life in AFL Evolution 2 and then we play them out in a kind of AFL What If league or tournament. So the way that it'll work would be kind of like this. We've got the 16 teams that we've created in the AFL What If series, and we're going to put them in a head-to-head kind of bracket style tournament. So in the first round we're going to have about 8 games, 4 on each side of the bracket, and then the 4 winners from those games will go into the second round, and it'll go on and on until we have our last 2 teams in the grand final. Now as for what kind of videos these will be, there's a number of different ways we could potentially do this. One is I just put together kind of a highlights or a recap of each game as a video. So say the Melbourne Hawks and the Parkville Phantoms play off in the first round, we could have a video about, showing highlights from that game and kind of recapping how the game went down. Or alternatively, we could have kind of a recap or highlights package kind of breakdown of the entire round. So for that first round with those 8 games, we could kind of have one video that just basically breaks down each game, gives you a recap and some highlights of each match and shows you how the game went down, and we basically recap the entire round in one video. The third option could be that we could just have unedited games. So, as I said in that example, Melbourne Hawks v Parkville Phantoms, we could just have the full unedited game, but that could just be kind of boring, unedited, whatever it would be, 20 or 30 minute matches. That could get kind of boring. So that's definitely my least favorite option. So a couple of things to bear in mind is that this will be AI versus AI. We're not going to give any team an advantage by having me playing as one team, or a disadvantage, I guess, depends how you look at it. And again, like I said in the previous video, this is all dependent on what AFL Evolution 2 offers in terms of a custom team creation tool. Look, worst case scenario, even if Evo 2 only has a kind of real basic and bare bones team creator like Evo 1, we could still try and do this and have the teams wear Guernseys that are like, the best thing or the closest to kind of what we've made. Obviously that wouldn't be as good as if we could bring in the actual Guernseys we've designed and created, but we'll work with what we have. And then on top of that, if this does, if we can do this and if this does work out, and if you guys like this first season, we could do kind of more tournaments where either with the same teams, or we could kind of change it up and do a whole nother series of AFL What If with different leagues and different rules and different teams and all that kind of stuff. I had a recent suggestion that maybe talked about, what if the AFL started in 1987 completely from scratch? Instead of continuing on from the VFL, what if the league just kind of started fresh as a kind of new franchise league as the AFL in 1987. That could be, an interesting thing to explore in a future season of this series. Or another idea that I had is, we could make up an entire league based on local teams around, the country, and we could kind of bring them to life in Evo 2 and then do the same kind of thing. But yeah, those are kind of ideas we can talk about down the line in the future if you guys like the first season of this series and if it all works out as we're planning to do it. I made this video to kind of get your guys' thoughts on this idea and what you think and whether you like it or not. So as always, let me know in the comments down below what you think of this idea and how we could maybe make it better, or whether you like it or not. And again, I might put a poll in the top corner of the screen that might just ask kind of whether you guys like this idea or not, and whether you want to see it when Evo 2 comes out. But that's about it for this video, guys. Until next time, we will see you later.